I want to thank you for tuning in to another edition of Mac's Motivational Message. Today's message is entitled, Impossible is an Opinion, Not a Fact. Now, before I get into the meat of my message, I need to read a disclaimer. An attorney friend of mine told me it's to my best interest if I read this up front so no one gets the wrong impression of what my videos are about or why I do these weekly videos. So I want to clearly state that my opinions expressed in this video and all videos on this Facebook page, Mac's Motivational Message, are simply informational in nature. I do not possess any educational degrees of any type in human nature. I'm simply expressing my experiences in life and how I overcame the good and the bad, the ups and the downs. It's my hope that the way I have succeeded in life and sharing those moments with others will help them succeed in theirs. Now, something else I want to put out there that I like to start off with every video, it's sort of a motto that I live by. Now, I didn't create this. It's a beautiful motto, if you will. It's called Our Deepest Fear. It was written by Marianne Williamson. And I first came across it when I saw the movie, I think it was Coach Carter. And it's entitled Our Deepest Fear. I think the words of this poem, if you will, or this statement, speak volumes to me. And I hope in turn that it does the same thing for you. And it goes like this. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. You playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We're all meant to shine as children do. It's just not in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I really believe that statement speaks in volumes that from the day we're born, we're meant to shine in this world, to be successful, to reach our goals, to go beyond our own expectations. Regardless of what your parents may have told you, or your friends may have told you, or your coworkers may have told you, or even regardless of what you may have told yourself. We're all meant to shine and be successful on this planet. We're not meant to suffer all the time. How often do you tell yourself or do you talk yourself out of something? It can be as simply as learn to ride a bicycle. There are millions of adults that have never ridden a bicycle. There are millions of adults that don't know how to swim. Maybe at some point in your life you talked yourself out of it, or you scared yourself so much that you wouldn't even attempt it. We need to exceed our own expectations. And that's sort of what the groundwork or the theme of today's subject is. Impossible is an opinion, not a fact. Let me share some facts with you. And these people were told that it was impossible. In 1899, from the Commissioner of the U.S. Patent Office, He said, and I quote, "Everything that can be invented has been invented." In 1876, from the office of the executive world-leading telegraph company, "The telephone has too many shortcomings to be a means of communication." 1943, IBM chairman, I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers." Executive director, radio executive in 1962 said, "Guitar music is on its way out." And guess who he rejected? The Beatles. At age 6, William Rudolph was diagnosed, Wilma Rudolph was diagnosed with incurable polio. Doctors said she'd have to walk the rest of her life in braces. Yet she went on to win 3 gold medals in the 1960 Olympics. Now, granted, these stories are from years back, but keep in mind that people, even in that era, believed that these things were impossible. And sure, our technology has grown by leaps and bounds, and everybody has a computer, so there's definitely far more than 5 computers on the planet. But in that day and age, those people believed that having more than 5 computers anywhere in the world was impossible. If you have had a goal in your life, and whether someone's told you you're too old to do it, you'll never have enough money to do it, you've done this 100 times and every time you failed, you're never going to do it, don't listen to them. In my personal experience, I can think back when I was in 9th grade. I was taking psychology in high school, and our psychology teacher told us, "I want you to go home." He was speaking to the class, and he said, "I want you to go home tonight and write out 201 things you can do with a piece of chalk." Now, there were about 30 students in my class, and some of the kids raised their hand and said, "There's not 201 things you can do with a piece of chalk. It's just a piece of chalk." I went home and I thought to myself, they have a point. You can throw a piece of chalk, you can roll a piece of chalk, you can bounce a piece of chalk, you can write with a piece of chalk. That's maybe 4 or 5 things. But then I started thinking, and this is where I learned to think outside the box. Yes, I can throw a piece of chalk, but how many things can I throw it at? That's limitless. I can throw it at a car, I can throw it at a cat, I can throw it at a box, I can throw it at a hat, I can throw it at my sister, I can throw it at the door, I can throw it to 1,000 more things. Okay, I can roll a piece of chalk. What can I roll a piece of chalk under? Millions of things. A couch, a chair, a car, somebody's foot, a lamp, a dresser, a TV. Okay, I can draw with a piece of chalk. What can I draw on? Millions of things. A car, a sidewalk, a house, a wall, a table. I was the only student that came back the next day with 201 things you can do with a piece of chalk. Everybody else couldn't figure it out. And the kid the day before who raised his hand in class said, "That's impossible." I learned to think outside the box at that point. When I was in 10th grade, I decided to go out for the high school football team. Now, my sister and brother can tell you this. I did not do well in football. I think there was first, second, and third string. I was like 10th string. I really stunk at it. I couldn't get the plays right. I couldn't. I just could not do anything right on the football practice field. I really stunk at it. So they made me a manager, otherwise known as the guy who brings the water to the players or who washes their uniforms. That's what I did. Well, between my junior and senior year in high school, I then joined the Army National Guard. Now, it was just a coincidence that my commanding officer, a Captain Evans, was also my football coach in high school. So I graduated high school and I stayed in the Army National Guard for about 8 or 9 months after that. And I went to him and I said, Captain Evans, I want to transfer to the Marine Corps. And I remember he said this to me after he stopped laughing, knowing that I stunk as a football player. He said, Dale, you couldn't make it as a football player in high school. You really expect to make it as a U.S. Marine? They're going to chew you up and spit you out. But I was determined. He told me it was impossible that I would graduate. And not that I'm blowing my own horn here, but not only did I graduate with honors. I was the platoon highest shooter. Out of 200 recruits, I did the best on the firing line. Now, for those of you that are Marines or who also served in the Marine Corps, you know that qualifying as a Marine Corps sharpshooter is tough. Now, I went to both Army boot camp and Marine Corps boot camp. And I'm not taking anything away from the Army. Anyone who ever serves for this country has my full respect. But the difference between my experience, this may not be true with every Army boot camp. I went to Fort Knox for boot camp. Our rifle qualification was we fired 10 rounds at a pop-up silhouette target at like 50 yards, and that was it. The whole rifle qualification in my Army experience maybe lasted a couple of days. But in the Marine Corps boot camp, it's a 2-week process. The first week, they do what's called snapping in. You learn and you memorize and you get your body used to the different types of positions, from offhand, standing up, kneeling, prone, laying down. You learn to fire rapid fire, single shot, and you fire at 200 yards, 300 yards, and 500 yards. So it's the first week you learn to snap in. You learn the positions. The second week, Monday to Thursday, you fire live rounds. That's your practice session. And Friday is qual day or qualification day. So it's a very intense, hard training. It's very difficult. And out of 200 or 300 men, I fired the best. Now they were also going to make me meritorious promoted to PFC because I was the best Marine in my platoon. But the drill instructors decided that it wouldn't be fair if I took both awards, so they gave the PFC to somebody else. But I graduated boot camp, and many people, including my high school coach, said it was impossible, I would never do it. Not only did I graduate with honors from boot camp, But when I went to communications school in 29 Palms, California, out of 600 students, I made the top 10% of my class. And as a reward for that, they let me choose where I wanted to be stationed. And from there, I was stationed in Hawaii for 3 years. Another example of my Marine Corps career. Um, in the Marine Corps, and this may have changed since I've been in, but back then, you got E1 and E2 automatically. If memory serves me correctly, you got E2 after 6 months of service, as long as you kept your nose clean. And then you got E3, which is Lance Corporal, after 9 months of a clean record. It was automatic, unless you was a real screwball and you just didn't get promoted at all. Well, to get to E4 and above, they base it on what's called cutting score. You earn points by your physical fitness test, your rifle range, and several other things come into play to earn that. Well, there's another way you can earn rank besides by points. They can give it to you meritoriously, which means when I was a Lance Corporal, which is an E3, they felt that I had the leadership traits of an E4 or corporal. So they put you in front of this board of about 10 officers and they drill you. They ask you questions. They look over your service record book. They really look it over with a fine-tooth comb, and they decide whether you possess the traits of an NCO. Well, that's how I got corporal, was meritoriously. And I also got sergeant the same way. I remember I was on embassy duty in Budapest, Hungary, and I was there for about 4 or 5 months. And I was on duty one day at Post 1, and the phone rang. And I remember answering, this is Corporal McEwen. This is an unsecured line, U.S. Embassy, Budapest, Hungary. How can I help you? And the ambassador had called me on the phone. And he said, can I please speak to Sergeant McEwen? And I said, sir, there's a Corporal McEwen here, but there's not a Sergeant McEwen. He said, no, it's Sergeant. And I was excited beyond belief. So all these people told me in my life that it was impossible to get to that point. Another example, this is back in 94, I think, 95, 94. I was working as a nursing assistant for a nursing home. I love taking care of people. I love the closeness and the ability to help those who couldn't take care of themselves. And I saw an article in the newspaper of a guy who's a quadriplegic, and for those of you who are not familiar with what that is, he was paralyzed from the neck down. And he was looking for a personal assistant. And I thought, you know what, the worst he can tell me is no. I'm going to go ahead and apply for this job. Well, there were 10 applicants. 9 of those, I was number 10. The first 9 were experienced RNs, LPNs, and they had a minimum of 10 years experience in taking care of those that have a spinal cord injury. And I had no experience. And I recall during the interview, the guy said to me, Mac, why should we hire you over these other qualified applicants? Now, this person I was working for was an attorney. And I said to him, let me ask you a question. If you won a multi-million-dollar lawsuit, that would be a great opportunity for you, right? And he said, sure it would be. And I said, sir, I'm your next great opportunity. And I got the job. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, no matter who tells you it's impossible, or no matter how many times you've tried something and you continue to fail, You fall flat on your face. You only fail if you give up. And it's only impossible if you talk yourself out of it. For those of you that have come on board recently over the last couple of months, you may not be aware of this. When I started planning this walk on the 4th of July 2010, and I started contacting the media and potential sponsors and just telling everyone that I knew about this walk, people told me it was impossible. There's even naysayers that continue to attack me on Facebook or through phone texts or through emails. Mac, it's impossible what you're doing. You're old, you're fat, you're unfunded, your bad conduct discharge from the Marine Corps is going to get in your way. People's not going to follow you. And if I would have believed that, I wouldn't be where I am today. When I first, one person in particular kept telling me, you'll never get more than 1,000 likes on Facebook. Oh, sure, you're starting off with 2 sponsors, but nobody else will come on board because we're going to call them and tell them what a loser you are. You're not going to succeed on this walk. Well, I'm here to tell you that combined, we have over 15,000 followers on Facebook, and I now have 17 sponsors on board. Yes, some people have walked away because of my past. Some people have walked away because they felt what I'm doing is impossible. But it's really a matter of attitude. Impossible is truly an opinion. If you want something bad enough, I don't care whether you want to lose weight. Let's say you've never ran a day in your life. You've never picked up one barbell. You've never done one push-up. You've never done one jumping jack. Your whole life has been full of junk food, fast food, and just bad food. You may not be able to run a mile the first day. You may be able to run 10 yards and be exhausted beyond measure. But you know what? That was 10 yards you didn't run yesterday. I don't care who's ever told you something's impossible, or even if you told yourself it's impossible. It comes down to your attitude. Your attitude really equals what your performance is going to be. The person that continues to attack me every day, practically every day, or he'll have somebody else do it for them, I always return with a very positive reply. Your opinion about me doesn't dictate my future. I do. I get so motivated, and this is another piece of the message I want to get across to you. When people tell you, oh, you can't do that, it's never been done. You've tried it for 10 years and you keep failing. Use that as the fuel you need to succeed. Even if you're the first somebody to do something that no one's ever done before, and even if you continue to fail every time you've tried it, you only fail if you quit. I never used the word impossible because I believe so much in my ability that if I want to do something, I know it's going to be done. I may not have the means to do it at the moment. I may not have the money to do it at the moment. I may not even have a plan to do it at the moment. But it will be done. It was, who was it? Thomas Edison says something, and I'll probably get these numbers wrong, but the idea is still here. He failed like 1,000 times before he successfully created the first light bulb. And a reporter said to him something like, "How do you feel about failing 1,000 times before you got this to work?" And his reply was, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I discovered 1,000 times of the ways it won't work." And that's what I believe we should all apply in our everyday lives. Even if you're trying to quit smoking, or you're trying to quit drinking, or you're trying to quit a bad habit you've had your entire life, it's not impossible. We all have willpower, and we all have the means to get somewhere or to achieve a certain goal. You just have to believe in yourself, regardless to what everybody else tells you. This is also where initiative comes in. You may be a high school football player, or you might be a professional baseball player. Take the initiative to train when others are sleeping. How bad do you really want that goal? How bad do you want to own your own business? How bad do you want to climb your company's ladder? How bad do you want to lose that weight? How bad do you want to quit smoking? It all comes down to a conscious choice. Regardless of how many people are in your ear every day telling you, "You're not going to do it. It's impossible. No one's ever done it. You're too fat to run 10 yards. You're too old to start a new career. You're too old to be a parent for the first time. You're too old to go to college. You're too old and too fat and too whatever to walk 15,000 miles." I hear it every day from somebody somewhere that I'm wasting my time out here, that I'm not helping anybody, that my mission to do this is fruitless. I'm not doing anything. I refuse to listen to those people. I'm a strong believer in the power of positive attraction. I'm a strong believer in God, and I believe that if you want something, when you pray for something, you pray with optimism. I know, God, you will answer this prayer. I don't say, "Lord, please bring me the food I need or the money I need to pay a bill or help me have money I need to pay for my family or my rent or what have you." I say, "I know you will." If you already know that you're going to be where you want to go, the trip's already half over. You know, it's a proven fact that your thoughts create energy. It can be measured. And I believe that if you can see it here in your head, you can hold it here in your hand. Let me tell you a little story. And this, again, falls back into positive attraction. If you bring positive stuff into your life and positive thoughts in your mind every day, then your day is going to be positive. How many times have you woken up and you stubbed your toe on the bed, or you cut yourself shaving, or something just happened the first thing in the morning and it ruins your whole day? No matter how great your day is, that one moment when you first woke up ruins everything. It's a choice. It's a choice to feel that way. When your eyes open up the first thing in the morning and you can't find anything to be happy about, I don't care if you wake up in a cardboard box under a bridge and you get to stand up and look around and you don't have a job, you can't remember the last time you ate, you have no clue where your life's going to go. Keep one thing in mind. The fact that you stood up. How many people on this planet can't stand up because of a disease or an injury they sustained? This walk beats up my body every day. Pulling that 50-pound cart hurts me. I deal with blisters, heel spurs, bad back, shoulders hurt, my back hurts, my hands hurt. I, I can, I don't know if you can hear this, but I can crack my knuckles because from pulling the cart, my neck hurts. Some part of my body hurts every day when I finish walking. And when my walk ends for that day, I can barely move. But you know what drives me? Yes, I want to help veterans. Yes, I want to raise more funds for veterans. Yes, I want to bring more attention to veterans' rights. But what drives me is I think about those veterans throughout history that have lost body parts, that are now paralyzed, confined to a bed, confined to a respirator, confined to a wheelchair, that would give anything to stand up out of bed. So no matter how bad your day might be, you find the attitude to make it positive. Maybe I'm going off all kinds of different directions today. I'm trying to keep the same focus on impossible is not impossible. If you want something bad enough, envision it up here. The story I wanted to tell you was I used to live in Las Vegas many years ago. I got married. We didn't work out. We got a divorce. And I was $3,000 in debt. And a friend of mine I'd known for many years loaned me $3,000. And she said, Mac, just pay me when you can. Pay me every month, whether it's $5 or $100, just pay me when you can. Some months I could pay her, some months I could not. And she understood that. Well, I moved from Las Vegas to Phoenix, Arizona. And I still owed her $1,500. And this is when I really started applying that idea that if you can see it here, you can hold it in your hand. And I started daydreaming that I would walk up to her one day and just pay her in full. And I would imagine the expression on her face. I would imagine the words I would use down to the finest detail. And I did this for about 2 or 3 weeks. Every day I would envision I'm paying you in full. Now I didn't have $1,500. I had no clue where it was going to come from, but I knew I'd pay her off. And do you know that next month's payment when I called her? I couldn't afford to pay her that month, and I was going to call her and tell her that. And I said, I can't pay you this month. And her words to me were, Mac, I don't know why I feel this way, but consider it paid in full. Now, could that have been a blessing from God? Sure, it could have been. Could it have been a coincidence? Sure, it could have been that too. But I've learned, and I've done some studies, do you know that a lot of athletes that win their particular sport, again, your thoughts can be measured. For instance, a tennis player. They'll visualize where their steps are, where their hands are, how they turn their back, look at the opposing player, how they'll swing their hand, the backhand, the shot, and they'll visualize every aspect of that game before they even play it. Here's an example. Have you ever had a dream that was so vivid it felt real to you? Do you know your mind doesn't know the difference between something real or something made up? If you close your eyes and you imagine in detail that you're driving a brand new sports car, the sound of the motor, the wind in your hair, the smell of the new leather, your mind believes you're driving a brand new car. So my point is, I know I'm going all different directions here. It comes down to the attitude on whether you want something to be impossible or not. Again, back to Wilma Rudolph. She was told she was diagnosed with polio, and doctors said she would never walk. And if she did, it would be with braces. Yet she won 3 gold medals in the Olympics. Well, I'm really rattling on. Let me go ahead and shut down for now. I hope, even though I was going in different directions with this topic, that you kind of got the idea of what I'm trying to say. It really comes down to a choice. How bad do you want that goal? How bad do you want to lose weight? How bad do you want to climb the corporate ladder? How bad do you want to start your own business? How bad do you want to quit smoking? How bad do you want to quit eating junk food? How bad do you really want to change that part of your life that's keeping you from succeeding where you think you should be? We all are meant to shine. We're all meant to be successful. Let me share one last thought with you and then I'll close. People tend to measure themselves by someone else's success. Well, I'll never get there. Like Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all these rich, successful, powerful people. Sometimes we tend to measure ourselves to them and like, I'll never get that rich. I'll never get that successful. Whether you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth or you're born into poverty, we all have one common denominator, and that's 24 hours in a day. It's how you spend those 24 hours and work towards your success that counts. Many people are born with a silver spoon and everything is handed to them. A brand new car for their birthday every year. They have a $5 million house. They have $10 million in the bank. But how many times do you hear about those people that are successful, that are addicted to drugs, that are depressed, that lose it all because it's truly an attitude? Don't let someone else's attitude about you dictate what you believe to be possible. Even the word impossible broken in half means I'm possible. Thank you again for listening to this new message. I hope I didn't confuse you by going off in all these different directions. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I hope that this message has helped somebody. I hope that the rest of your day is glorious. I hope the rest of your week is fantastic. And I hope that you'll achieve and you'll break through that ceiling of impossible and achieve your goal. Please feel free to leave comments or any questions. I want to thank you again for tuning in. As always, to my baby girl, mwah, Daddy loves you very much. I thank you all again for your support on my walk. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for your encouraging words. And thank you for keeping me in your prayers. I love you all very much. Until next time, Semper Fi.